Hello. I am here. Are you guys here? Are you just listening to me suck on my sucker? I have a sucker. It's actually a blow pop with the gum on the inside. Those are the best. Nah, they're not really, but it's the only sucker I have, so what am I going to do? Where's my chats? Can't see the chats. Hold on. I'm very Discord noob, so bear with me if you're chatting. Asking questions in chat because I can't figure out how to open up the chat. Probably telling me in chat how to open the chat. That's hilarious. That's not going to help. Let's see. Brianna, Zero, Das Leo, Jacob Schultz. Oh, what's up? Jesse Offord. Hey. Simixley. Shan. The No, Mac, Zem, My Sean, Crossrights, Scorp, Hasdev, Slim J, Alan Busso, Luis, Penumbra, that Max guy, Louis McKay, or Mackie, depending, Noya, Karinisanai, Karinasai, probably, MT Kakume, maybe. That epic guy. All right, look at that. It's like there's some people here. Good to know. Yeah. Yes. Ah, there it is. Hey. If I can figure this out. We all start out as noobs. That's true. Hey, Chuck, how you doing? Hey, damn, all I hear is Android 17 talk to us. That's true. How's it been, Chuck? It's been good. How am I doing tonight? I'm doing well. I have a sucker. I was a little out of sorts today. We had a slight scare as my lovely wife was coming home. So nothing serious, but caused me to pay attention to her too long when she got home. And then I was like, I've got to run. Actually, I didn't do that. I just naturally sort of drifted over here. Yeah, it was not a big deal. It was one of our son. He's 13. He had never stood up too quickly and got lightheaded. And so it scared him a little bit. And, you know, introduced myself to the people. Yeah, let's see. Who am I? My name is Chuck. I am a, what do you call me? A voice actor? An actor. I'm the voice of Android 17, Dr. Stein, Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho, Austria from Italia, Hiro Nohara from Shin-Chan, Kululu from Sergeant Frog, Emperor Pilaf. What's a voice actor? Correct. Oh man, I grew up with you as 17. I'm still growing up with me as 17. So we'll see how that goes. It is too cool. It is. That's the beauty of Discord. Is all the coolness. Hiei's the best. Hiei's probably the coolest character I have. Yeah, it's true. It's totally true. Just recently got the Android arc in DBZ with your kids. That's great. The Android arc in DBZ is arguably one of the best arcs in the entire series. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Someone's calling me. I have to ignore them. Let me put my phone on silent so that doesn't happen again. Android 17 all the way, radical ringtone. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a good ringtone. It's a little spooky. So I'm not exactly sure. Am I running this or is someone else running it? What do I do? Do I just let you guys ask me questions in the chat and then I answer them here? That's usually how these things sort of go. So if you guys got, oh, look, there's a question. Have I been working on anything recently? No, working on getting some auditions. I kind of, when everything kind of exploded back in 2019, kind of went on hiatus. Just sort of was like, I will continue doing all the characters that I've done before, but I don't really need to be hanging around or hitting the bricks trying to get new roles. But recently, just probably the last couple 3 months, I've started auditioning again, letting people know that I'm still alive and still probably the best voice actor working. How did I get into VA work and what made you want to get in the industry? So I was an actor in Chicago. I started out at the Goodman School of Drama there, left there, worked in Chicago for almost a decade, and then at like the Steppenwolf and Goodman Theater. And then I moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area and started a theater company. And then when I was at rehearsals one day, my buddy Brad Jackson came in and he was like, "Hey, you should go audition for this Dragon Balls thing." And I was like, "Dragon Balls? That sounds like porn." And he was like, "No, it's Japanese anime." And I'm like, "Okay, so it's seriously probably just like a porn gig, right?" And he's like, "No, call this dude. His name's Chris Sabat." And so I called him, and he had me audition for Garlic Jr. was the first one that I ever did. Garlic Jr., the little five episode saga there. So I never really wanted to get in the industry. It sort of happened, and it paid some bills, which was good. You know, it's an hourly gig. At that time, it was $35 an hour, which sounds huge. And it would be huge. Like if you book 8, 10, 12 hours for a week, you'd be like, this is epic. This is amazing. But nowadays, there's so many actors trying to do it. There's a lot less roles to go around. Hardest challenge faced starting out in the voice acting industry. The hardest challenges weren't at the beginning. The beginning was all easy. There weren't a lot of people who wanted to do it or knew how to get invited into Funimation. It's kind of a closed loop. People inviting their friends in, essentially. Now they're all legit. Now they do all like, regular auditions and casting breakdowns and. But most of the challenges happened after we became successful. Some of them very public challenges, and then a lot of it's just the challenge of it's the challenge you face as an actor all the time, which is your own ego getting in the way, not in the way of like I'm so good, but your ego saying that somehow your fate is in the hands of others, and you think, oh, this is it. I'm not going to ever work again. Because every time you have a gig, you think, this is awesome, I got a gig. And then when it's done, there's always a period in between gigs. And you're like, there's always this fear that, that's it. You're never going to work again. Never, ever again. You have to kind of face that demon. And I face that demon by making my own work happen. I teach classes online, and one of the principles we talk about is that if you want to succeed in the industry, you have to have the habits of people who are actors. And the habits of an actor are, auditioning and working as much as you possibly can whenever you get the chance. And the way to do that is now it's so much easier. Back then, it was hard to figure out where do I audition and where are the sort of indie places to audition. Now you can find all the places to audition online. That's probably the hardest challenge, is facing that emptiness. Here's one. How can a voice actor get into an agency? When in your voice acting career is it a good time to do so? Well, the way you get into an agency, the best way, is to know somebody who is already a client of that agent and have them refer you to the agency. So they're like, this is my friend Bob. Bob is a good voice actor. Would you listen to his demo? The second best way, and really the only second way, is to send an email, just a cold call to, and sometimes they will only have their physical address listed, and you have to send them like an actual thumb drive with your, or something with a link that they can click. A little mailer or something. But most agencies are approachable by email, and then you send them, and hopefully they want to use you. And until then, in other words, when in your voice acting career is it a good time to do so? It's, I mean, it's a very subjective question. You could go in this day and age without ever getting an agent and have just a fine voice acting career. Now, it's probably not advisable to do it that way, but if all you want to do is voice act, then you have to do all the voice acting, which means you've got to do political ads, you've got to do commercials, you got to be willing to do e-learning and audiobooks, and not just, Chainsaw Man is the only thing you want to do. And it's okay to have that as a dream. You'll work on a property, because plenty of voice actors have had that dream and had that dream come true. So it's certainly not completely out of the bounds of reality. But the best way is to be a full-time, pursue acting in all the ways that people pursue acting, including voice acting. So as far as a good time to do it, the good time to do it is when you need more, when you know you're not. Because if your only reason for wanting an agent is so they can get you a specific audition, and not because you want to broaden the scope of the auditions that you take, so that you're doing all the auditions your agent sends you, you have to be prepared to step up to try to make money for the agency. They like clients that make them money. So you got to be a good commercial voice actor too. And generally speaking, for a voice actor, you should have a demo, professionally cut commercial demo. Bonus points for having a political demo. If you're bilingual, bonus points for having bilingual demos. And then also a character or video game demo. But those really, those are helpful, but they're not. If as far as an agent is concerned, those are literally the last on their list that they would want. They still want it, but it's last on their list. What's it like working at Funimation and being a veteran in the industry of several decades? Funimation is a great place to work. I mean, it's from a structural standpoint or a payment standpoint, we could have a chat about how much voice actors get paid. The universe has supplemented us kindly with our ability to work at conventions, which does make it so that we get to be successful in a way that means we can pay for our own health insurance, or have a car that we make payments on, instead of buying a $1,500 piece of junk, which used to be what I used to have a van. I called it the murder van because it looked like I would murder you. As far as being a veteran of several decades, it's really interesting, because I now have grandchildren of fans. So I had a fan, and then I met the fan's child as a baby, and now the baby has a child, and I'm like, that's really weird. So to see the industry grow the way it has, and for us to be honored in the ways that we are, is pretty incredible. So it's all, you never know what's coming around the corner. I saw a post today from Dragon Ball Super that said something about the Red Ribbon Army coming back, and I was like, oh, that might be good for Android 17. No idea what the project is, but I'm hoping it's the next Super series. Do you roll over cars while you shoot? No, typically I shoot at a shooting range. I've actually never had to shoot my gun in the wild, but it's usually on me, that's for sure. My man's was Garlic Jr. That's true. I'm gonna push you into the dead zone. Did I ever voice in a channel called Death Battle? Yes, I did. I got to play Tony Stark, facing off against Lex Luthor. It was really it was pretty awesome. It was awesome because it was the first YouTube thing I had done, and like they texted me when it dropped, and it was so wild to see it land and then suddenly have 5,000 views, 20,000 views, 80,000 views, 200,000 views. I was like, what is happening? So it was like back in the early days of the teenage years of YouTube. That was fun. It is a very competitive field now as far as getting into Japanese anime, especially. Everybody wants to. Uh, uh, there is, like, seriously, it used to be like 12 of us working there. And it was kind of looked down on by the other actors in the DFW area. It was like, that's not real acting. To some degree, they're right. It is not. We say that voice acting, people love voice acting because takes away two of the biggest stressors that you have in traditional acting, which is an audience, whether it's a film crew of 80 or a physical audience in the theater. I mean, you have an audience when you're shooting a movie because they call action and everybody's got to be quiet. So everybody's looking at you while you're doing your lines. Same thing on a stage. So you take away an audience and memorization, and you're left with you alone in a booth with a microphone. So it is essentially some of the I don't want to say it's the easiest acting you can do, but it does take away two of the biggest stressors that come from acting, which is the memorization of the lines and the ability to perform in front of an audience. You have a minor audience when you're doing work at Funimation. You have a director and an engineer. And usually you're friends with them. So it's a little bit more like a rehearsal. It's not like performance, whereas when you lock up traffic and there's two helicopters getting ready to shoot and it's your time, they call action and you've got to hit your marks and fire your gun and drop it and pick up the other guy's gun and then run over to the helicopter and fly away, like which I did all that once in a movie. uh, it's you can get very up in your head about what do I do next, because it's like, holy crap, there's stuff on fire and stuff exploding and I'm supposed to be uh, natural. Like, that's much harder than being in front of a microphone. So, and that's not to say that the mic work is not, like I said, not difficult. It's got its own sort of skill to it, and it has um, there's a repetitive nature, and to bring that reality to it in that repetitive way is takes a lot of focus, takes a lot of drive, takes a lot of energy. um, you can rise to all sorts of occasions in voice acting just like you can in theater or film. I'm trying to get into VA mostly for fun at the moment since I work full time. I work in a theater heavy city in Scotland. Ooh, nice. It's so many people who want to act here, so I only got to study 1 year. Yeah, you if you want something, you just do it. Even if it's you're always going to have the obstacles. There's no getting around them. And there is a harsh reality that is absolutely true that um, everybody should be aware of, which is nobody cares when you're sad or depressed or frustrated. You're lucky if you maybe, so like statistically speaking, there's like 8 billion people on the earth. So even if you had three people really, really caring about you, statistically speaking, are zero people in the world that care when you're depressed or sad or grumpy or dis disheartened about the state of your life or your career. And once you kind of get angry at that a little bit, like, yeah, wait, nobody, this energy that I'm putting towards sadness or depression or frustration it's really just torturing myself. There's no reason, there's no positive outcome from me being like, I'm sad that other people have work that I don't have. You're just kind of showing a weakness when you do that. And we all do it. We all do it occasionally. You got to. Otherwise there's nothing to overcome. But the overcoming of it, for me, a lot of times in class we talk about shifting into neutral. That if you're in a negative state, you don't have to shift into I'm super happy and positive, but you just need to allow yourself to blend with the rest of the world that doesn't care about your depression or your sadness. So like you can feel the overwhelming weight of the world not having any interest in your sadness. What the overwhelming weight of the world is going to have an interest in is something you create, something you make, some vibration you send out into the world that is uniquely your own, something that you wanted to share. You can find the other 250,000 or 2.5 million people, or if you're lucky, 100 million to half a billion people who like exactly what you like. But if you give yourself over to that creative force and start making something happen instead of waiting for something to happen to you, stuff is more likely to happen to you. Brianna, when not voice acting in anime, what other theatrical projects do you enjoy? Let's see. I have written. It needs some more rewrites, and it's possibly being combined with another play. Had approached a friend about writing a Tesla play, and I thought we were talking about writing one together, and he wrote his and I wrote mine, and kind of like maybe we're not working together, but we finished both our plays and he sent me his, and I was like, wow, it kind of works if we were to cut our two plays together. And so I sent him our two plays cut together, and he's like, you are right, it does kind of work. So I may be working on that. There's also a shorter project, theatrical project. It's called the William Lynch letter. And his name, and him particularly, is where we get the idea of lynching. And his speech was entitled "How to Make a Slave!" ! And it's just this overwhelmingly evil person talking about how to make the best slaves. And I just think it'd be such an incredible 20-minute monologue to do. So I may do that because it's just some of the stuff he says, I'm like, wow. Not just because of the grotesque nature of his beliefs, but because of the sort of the insight gained into where we are now based on what the people leading at that time in that industry were thinking. And once you sort of dissect that, it becomes easier to overcome on sort of a structural basis. Okay, do I have a home studio? And if so, what's it like? Noise, floor, equipment, and all that. Yeah, so like -60 dB is what everybody, tries to aim for. If there are occasionally jets doing, circles, and they're washing the house. It's nothing you can do about that. Used to happen at Funimation sometimes too. The equipment is, I'm the worst. I'm not a gearhead. I always have to look it up. A Sterling 180 tube condenser, and the Avid little one with the two channel Avid. And then it's in a walk-in closet. It's actually a walk-in closet in my son's room. And it's got two rows of clothes on one side that are sort of behind a curtain, and then the rest of the studio's sound treated. And it works really well. I've recorded all the DBZ video games from in the studio. Generally, like now that we're back to being in studio, I prefer to be in somebody else's studio. There's an extra added effort that actors have to make when they're recording themselves in the studio, in their own studio, because it's like tech, man. Tech makes me more nervous than anything. It's like, do I have an extra HDMI cable with the particular attachment to connect to my computer? Do I have an extra XLR cable in case this one craps out mid-session? Like you want to have all the ways to fix the things that can go wrong. And I always say in class that the only technical problem that you will ever run into is your belief that there won't be a technical problem. So, if your disposition is, I'm likely going to have technical problems, you sort of do a controlled burn on the front end of that anxiety for when it does happen, because you're not blindsided by it. Like, I don't know what's happening. You're like, I have three things this could be. I have two solutions for it. That gives you the strength to be confident when it comes to, handling the technical issues. But that said, I like to be in someone else's studio. There is a reason that we let professionals be in charge of the tech. It's so that the actors can be more free to act. If you're not worrying about stuff, you're a better actor. Yeah, practicing. I want to practice on my vocal more often if it means I get a role in a cartoon I enjoy watching in my free time. Yeah, I say acting is good for anyone. Just like singing and dancing is good for anyone. It seems pretty obvious, like, wow, singing makes people feel better, even if they're bad at it, sort of like, take me out to the ball game, everybody singing, you always feel good about that. Dancing, same thing, doing the boot scoot and boogie or some stupid group dance, even the Macarena, everybody loved that back in the day. So like, same thing goes for acting. It's good for the soul. Oh, look at Jacob Schultz throwing out some subroutines. Nice. So Jacob took my class, and in the class we talk about your habitual life as a being is incredible. It's perfect. You have the greatest artificial intelligence, assuming that you're a created thing. Maybe you're an accidental thing, but even then, it's still the greatest sort of computing power that we know of. They may be surpassing us here soon. So your habits are already perfect. And the idea of a subroutine is you just sort of list out, what are my habits throughout the day? What do I do every single day? What can I add to them that I actually want in my life? What are the habits of identity that let me feel like an actor? And, like a simple one is, I take a shower every day. And you're like, great. What do you do during that shower? What do you mean I just wash my body? Well, cool. Then you're wasting not only a great anchor, great place but a great moment in time that is repeated throughout your life, which could be filled with something that could benefit you. Why don't you do tongue twisters in your shower every day? Pick a new one every week, every month. Just practice your vocal articulation while in your shower. She stood on the balcony, inexplicably mimicking him, hiccuping and amicably welcoming him in. 11 benevolent elephants. Betty bought some butter, but she said this butter's bitter. And, you're doing that. Don't do it when you're washing your face. You'll get soap in your mouth. I know this from experience. But so that's a good example of a subroutine. But the other way, and for that, you can improve physical health, mental health. These are sort of what I like to call athletic practices. But I mean, you can add meditative practices as a subroutine, so that, every time you feed your dog every day? Yes, I do. Okay. Every time you feed your dog, you sit on the couch and watch him happy eating his food, and you just say an affirmation over and over again, something that's going to fill you with joy. And you just take that moment every single day, because time is not our greatest resource. It's our attention to time. That is our greatest resource. When you put your attention in time, you say, I'm going to do this thing every day, this tiny little habit towards what I want every single day. Gain a foothold in the river of your life that is just flowing right past you all the time, and you are able to infiltrate your life and your habits with things that give you even more joy. And probably one of the most important habits we talk about in class is the ability to put down the phone in a different room before you go to bed. I always say, move your charger to the kitchen. Look at your whatever, have your habit, sit in the kitchen, drink a glass of water while you do your last check on your emails or your whatever social media or Reddit or Tumblr. Then once you're done with that, you put the phone down and you go to bed without your phone in your hand. You spend 15, 20 minutes in bed asking yourself questions, positive questions. What was great about today? What am I going to do tomorrow? What could I have done better today? You focus on something that you want to accomplish in your life as you're going to bed, because the scientific it's proven what you think about right before you go to bed is what your computing power of your brain will work on while you're asleep. So if you think about healthy eating habits, or you think about how many workouts you want to get in this month, if you think about whatever issue you're having with a piece of writing, or that's particularly what I've been doing lately, working on these writing projects, I kind of set one out for me to think about it. And when you wake up in the morning, you'll very often have developed a strong affinity or an idea. Sometimes very clear answers come right in the morning, and you wake up in the morning and you don't have your phone right there. You stretch in bed and you take some time in bed. We waste so much time on the internet. The idea that you would consciously spend 15, 20, 30 minutes before bed and 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes after waking just to focus on yourself, that is the bare minimum that you can accept. You can accept no less than that. And you will supercharge everything you want to do, because you're utilizing this 8 hours of brain power when you're asleep. Your brain's working on these issues. And then especially to get into anime, Jacob's saying how to improve your acting to get into anime. I would say improv, take some improv classes. I would, even classical stuff. I mean, anime comes from Japanese acting style, which comes from kabuki, which is a highly charged, highly stylized way of acting. And you can find its, roots in anime, and or anime can find its roots in kabuki. And so any effort towards learning acting is going to improve your ability to get into anime. How do I go from Garlic Jr. to Kurogiri? I didn't train the range. I have a kind of naturally high range up here. Whoa. And I have my low range here. Although we did take voice and diction classes, and we did take singing, and we did take all sorts of different classes that gave us opportunities and challenges for our vocal range. So I'm sure the 4 years of training I had at the theater school was helpful to that for sure. Favorite genre to voice act in? I mean, I'm not sure what genre it is, but Soul Eater, Yu Yu Hakusho. Those are super fun. But on the flip side, something like Sergeant Frog or Shin-Chan is also a lot of fun. The comedies sometimes can be technically difficult getting the acting right, but the comedy usually makes it worth it. 1:30 in Scotland. Goodbye. Bread for the dog? I don't know what that means. Any advice for newbies looking for auditions? Yes. Let me give you. And I gotta pull it up here. Is it? I'm that guy. I'm that guy with way too many tabs open on my. Excuse me. On my desktop here in the chat. Link to a Google Doc. It shows. It keeps getting updated. It shows 60 different places where you can audition, and what they require in terms of do I need an agent? Do I need a demo? So that's a great in the chat is that. Hold on, where was I? I have to go back up. Where was that? Thoughts on where? You murdered someone in the murder van? No, I've never murdered someone. I thought about it. What was my reaction when I got my first role? In anime, I was like, "This is a scam." This because I got my first role literally right after I finished auditioning. I was like, "I'm gonna push you into the dead zone," and so I was like, "Man, that was great. That was so amazing. You got time to like record it like right now?" And I was like, "I got the role." He's like, "Oh yeah, no, you're perfect, man. We're kind of running. We're on a deadline, so if you could like jump in the booth, that would really help us out." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, man. Okay." That was my reaction. I thought it was fake. Mm-mm-mm. Okay, now I'm back, caught up. Childhood cartoon. I liked Space Ghost. I liked G-Force. I liked G-Force Battle of the Planets. Uh, Speed Racer was fun. Those were good. I mean, like when I was 18, Akira blew my mind. I know a lot of voice actor colleagues of mine who also do ASMR. What do we think about ASMR? I don't understand it. I think scientifically it probably has something to do with the frequency that whispery or crinkly gives you to feel better. When it comes to the industry, do you recommend doing voice acting as a full-time job, or does it have its cons? It's no, I mean every job has its cons. Voice acting full-time is great. You have to do all the voice acting. You got to do, like I said, e-learning and audiobooks, and it is mostly if you got your own home studio, it's a job you can do from home, and it also makes it perfectly portable because if you're like, I want to move to, this part of the country, then you absolutely can. What do you do if you don't want to attach your voice to a political candidate? Are you just able to make an ad that encourages people to vote or educate themselves on current events? Yeah, so that's the deal. Like you can totally call out to your agent, I am not going to audition for these particular candidates. So you don't have to, um, and you don't have to. I don't do political ads because I wouldn't want to. I just don't like it. But, uh, yeah, so you have the choice. You don't have to do even after you get the job. You could be like, oh wait, who is this? No, I don't want to do it. Actually, I have a friend who got in trouble because he did a political ad for an opposing candidate, and then gave the ad copy to the candidate he did like, and that allowed her to. Anyway, it was a big mess. It was a lot of fun though. So that was interesting. How much does Funimation pay their workers? So it started at 35 an hour. Then we got a bump to $50 an hour. And then there was a bump to like $75 an hour, 2 hour minimum. And now I think we're at something like 200 an hour, 225 for 2 hours. I can't remember what it is. Something less than video games, but more than we used to get paid. Grandparents showing their grandkids the Dragon Ball show they watched this. Yeah. Oh yeah. I plan most of my life to one day sit with grandchildren and binge like Soul Eater, some little kids. I think that'd be fun. Many voice actors become other sections of the industry, even independent work online, such as writers, directors, and etc. What led you into your other professions? A lot of it's just opportunity or need. The opportunity to write for Funimation came up, and I needed the money, so I took it. Um, I always say that I never wanted to be a voice actor, but I was open to the opportunity when it came, and when those things happen for you, you have to be open to them and make sure that you're present, so that you don't make a mistake like that's not what I want. It's like, well, that may not be what you want, but is it going in the same direction? Is it going up the chain of success when it comes to being an actor? Well, then you got to take it because that's only going to affect and help the other ways that you want to be successful. What was one thing that made me seriously upset? Oh gosh, there's so much that has made me seriously upset. I try not to be seriously upset anymore. It's too difficult. Am I cool? Tips on how to be cool? I don't know. I think I'm I think I'm interesting. I think I'm different. I don't know if I'm cool. Cool usually means you know what's happening in cooldom, and I generally don't know what's happening in cooldom. But I think I'm cool because a sort of original hipster don't care. But that's sort of that Generation X thing. We're like, whatever. That was our whole thing. Whatever. Oh, nuclear missiles from Russia? Whatever. We didn't care. We're like, forget it. I have some work to get to heading out now. Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, Lordy, are you aware that you're now? Oh, a bot is telling someone they're level 4. Have a wonderful rest of your night. You too. Take care. Scream your ass off for war. I would usually do a Tribe Called Quest scenario. Hayden Christensen portrayal of Anakin Skywalker in Star Wars. I thought he's a good actor. The weight of something like that and the direction of George Lucas, because George Lucas is a roundly considered not a very good actor director. He can direct a film incredibly, like in terms of like getting an actor to the emotional point that they need to be. He's not the greatest. Hayden was super young, and thought that he made everything a little too important. Important in the wrong sort of internal way. Like it was hurting him internally instead of his need being placed outside himself somewhere. I didn't see what he was needing outside of himself. I saw how things were hurting him, which is kind of a common trap to fall into as an actor. Oh, what's happening is troubling to me. It's like, no, why is it troubling? Because I want that thing. They're preventing me from getting it, or I'm preventing myself through my own foibles. So I thought his acting was much better later on. He's actually a very good actor, but in those Star Wars movies in particular, I thought he was poorly directed and allowed to make some young actor choices that weren't necessarily the best. What's the one common struggle I see in beginner voice actors? The idea that you're portraying emotion instead of trying to achieve something. A lot of times people will think, I just have to be angry. And that's true a lot of times in anime, but it's not going to get you very far. What's going to get you very far is knowing what you want, what's preventing you from getting it, and then trying like hell to get it. That trying like hell turns into anger because you just can't get there. And you have to lop off this person's head. Whatever, destroy the planet. You know, it's anime. What was I like when I found out Chris Ayres died? Yeah, that was very sad. I was sad, said a little prayer for him. I always loved him. Can I give you a list of tongue twisters? Google can give you a list of tongue twisters. There's, I'll tell you, my favorite simple short one is PEGGY BABCOK. So Peggy Babcock. Peggy Babcock, Peggy Babcock, Peggy Babcock, Peggy Babcock, Peggy Babcock, Peggy Babcock. And you're all right now saying Pebby Babpop, Pebby Babcock, Peggy Pop Pag. Do Peggy Babcock and make that, say it slowly. The key with a tongue twister is to say it slowly enough so that you can get it perfect and then gradually make it faster until you break it and slow it down. Never try to get faster if you're breaking. Slow it down until you're perfect and then bring the speed up. I'm always on swole mode, that's for sure. Garlic Jr. makes me giggle. Oh, so recording lines, how do I not obsess over it not being quite right? Here is this is a young actor thing. You're never going to rise to the occasion. You just don't. As actors, as artists, we fall to the level of our habits. We fall to our base skill level. So recording it 30 times to try to get it just right. A lot of times, and when I've had actors do this, I will say all 30 of these sound exactly the same. And you can hear all the nuance and all the difference. What I tell actors is warm up and then read the audition out loud just to make sure you can say it. So I'll pretend your first question is the line. This is what you do. You go, whatever warm up you need. Little humming. Ba 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 da ga da ba da ga da ba da ga da. Okay. All right. When you record lines, how do you not obsess over it not being quite right? Okay, I think that's good. I would hit record. When you record lines, how do you not obsess over it not being quite right? That's pretty good. That was pretty good. I think, do I have another way to do it? Like, that kind of jumped into that too quick. So I think, am I asking when you record line? So maybe ask it like a real question, like there's somebody there. Okay, let me try again. When you record lines, how do you not obsess over it not being quite right? Okay, yeah, that was a good one. So now I've got my good one that I think is fine to send in as the audition. If I have something radically different than that, okay, let me try. Let's pretend I have a radically different idea. I'm going to make him crazy. I'm going to make him really intense, make him really obsessive. When you record lines, how do you not obsess over it not being quite right? Okay, so now I've got 2 takes. Depending on what they asked me or what they gave me as direction, I might give them one or the other. I might give them both, and probably the more extreme one first and then the more normal one second. That's how I do it generally, because I usually like the more extreme one. But if I have said all the words correctly, and I did my job of believing before speaking, that's it. I'm done. I don't obsess over it. You are going to realize one of the levers that you can control to get more work is the ease with which you get through auditions. Auditions should be flowing out of your computer. You should be able to walk in, click, punch, we're open, ready, check, check, check. I'm recording, done recording. I've cut it. I've labeled it. I've sent it off. And it's 5-10 minutes tops. That's what it should be per audition. Hopefully you've got 6 or 7 lined up so you can boot the whole system up, record 6 or 7 auditions, throw labels correctly on all of them, make sure you email them to everybody correctly, and then you're done with 6 auditions in 45 minutes, maybe an hour, maybe 10 minutes per audition. But that's all you want to do. You're auditioning over and over again is not going to make you better. You're not going to get better at acting in the audition process. You're going to be about as good as you are. So if you said the lines right, you didn't trip over anything, that's it. Your job is done. Your job to get better is during class. That's where you take risks and make mistakes and and you take risks and make mistakes in an audition. You want to push it right to that edge. Sometimes those auditions take a little longer, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 takes if I'm doing something that's a little tricky. But other than that, get it done, get it out the door. That's about all you can do. And then hit more auditions. Real-time fan dub of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle 2012. That's pretty fun. Thanks for coming in. I need to go. Yes, a fellow tab man. That. Are you paid for studio time or recorded audio in your pay rate? I'm not sure what that question means. Yeah, we're paid for what we turn in, the rate for the finished recording, not for the studio time. It's funny because you used to have to pay somebody for studio time when you'd want to record, and that would be up to them. But yeah, that's right. We all have these studios now, and then all these places don't have to pay for studio time. Most taxing script, any that took a while to get down, like those dreadful medical reads. I one time had to say spaghetti 27 times in a row for a Shin-Chan episode. That was really surprisingly hard. There are a lot of gigs I wish I could have done better. Sometimes it's a lot of a lot of indie film gigs. You're like, well, that was a good attempt. Didn't really turn into a film. Favorite role was Hiei. I talked about that at the beginning. Uh, the pet, I have two pugs. My wife has two pugs. Any words of advice you have for struggling VAs? Keep working. Just make it happen. Make yourself in control of it. A lot of our frustration comes when we think we're not in control of it. A song I would be belting out at the top of my lungs. I don't know. I hate karaoke, so that would probably never happen. I don't know why I hate karaoke, but I do. I don't mind going to it as long as I don't have to sing. What does it feel like voicing Shout Talker? It's fun. It's fun to make people very, very sad when they figure it out. It's it, I feel like I'm healing people's trauma because we make it we make it better for them by laughing at it. Okay, here's a theory on Hayden's acting in Star Wars. His acting was eccentric as that was his own interpretation of an intensely emotional, conflicted character with severe trust issues and anxiety. Yeah, I mean that's essentially what he's doing. But you even in that sentence, intensely emotionally conflicted character with severe trust issues and anxiety. That, from an acting standpoint, is unplayable. There's nothing I can do with that as an actor. As an actor, those words mean nothing to me. What does he want? Why can't he get it? And what is, preventing him from getting it? How is he trying to do it? That's what that essentially you're saying exactly what I said, which was he was allowed to be intensely emotionally conflicted with and have severe trust issues, which unfortunately is not a great playable action as an actor. Where were we? With so much information on the internet about voice acting and advice for beginners, what is something that you think is not being talked about or not enough? Getting on stage, getting in front of a group, it's going to make you a better actor. Absolutely. I always tell when my students are like, what do I do next? Because my classes are online. My students are like, what do I do next? I say, find a theater, do a play, get up on your feet, get in front of your friends, whatever it takes, memorize a monologue. That's it. Just get out and in real life with real people. Sometimes voice actors have to struggle with bad material and direction. True. To make do with bad material direction. Well, bad direction is the worst. Bad direction is the worst because you can't actors in charge. And you can argue once. That's all you get as an actor. You can argue with them once. If the director says no, you can do the Robert Downey Jr. thing. He says nod and say yes to your actor or to your director and then just do whatever you want. And there is a little bit of that. If you're good, if you're really, really good, that's true. But the problem is if you're not demonstrably rock star, killer actor, then you can't really do that to a director, even if they're giving you bad direction. If you can't emotionally own the director, you're going to have to do what they say. And then I argue once, and then I push back a little bit, but that's it. After that, you're like, well, it's your show. It's not mine to deal with. And so you kind of brush it off and go, well, I guess that's going to suck a little bit, that, in my opinion. Pugs are Merry and Pippin from Lord of the Rings. I'm glad you hate karaoke as well. Hiei is one of my favorites. Out in public, I only get recognized at GameStop or Hot Topic. Those are the two places I've been recognized. Do you think people can be naturally good at voice acting, like they can just do it without much practice? Absolutely. There are definitely naturally gifted and talented people who just float right into it. That said, that's only going to last so long in any one particular industry, and then you have to continue training yourself. Even I have to continue training myself. What's the number one thing that you know now that you wish you had known when you started? So buy Bitcoin. No. If I'd have done that in 2012, 2009, whenever it started. Probably, I mean, just not to care about what anybody else thinks. Never do. Ever. It's a waste of time. They don't really care about you. Nobody's thinking about you. Nobody cares that you're depressed. So why do you care you're depressed? Get over it, you know? Just get out there and just start doing stuff. The reprising a role, I would love for Dr. Stein from Soul Eater to merge in the Fire Force universe somewhere. I think that would be amazing. Oh, they recognize Stein from Soul Eater. If you knew a role was going to be so bad it's good and unintentionally funny, would you still take it or advise? The only reason I wouldn't take a role is if there was something in the material that was offensive to me. I've had probably 4 or 5 times in my life where I've been on set or in the booth and said, I'm not saying that line. They're like, no, we're in charge. You have to say that line. I'm like, my voice will not hear those words. You can rewrite that line for me because it is not. You know, you can draw a line at some point. Be like, no, I won't do that. But so bad it's good. I think that would be amazing. Here is my email address. Anyone would like information on the classes. A franchise I would love to be a part of. I had a couple of an audition for Chainsaw Man. I didn't get it. Very competitive. And like I said, I'm just but I'd love to be part of Chainsaw Man. And if all your roles fought each other to the death, who would win? Hiei, 17 might also win. It's a tough call. Maybe Dr. Stein. The one character that I really want to... I like doing British characters, so I'd love to do an anime of perhaps Sherlock Holmes would be a good one. Is there an actor I'm looking forward to working with at some point? Not really. I mean, there are actors I would love to work with. You know, Daniel Day-Lewis is one on everybody's list. Give us an ad for my class as Dr. Hans. You must get into the class, little piggies, or your brains will not work. It's the silliest thing I've ever... Oh, that's not true. How much have impacted your family, especially your dad? You love Android 17? You're welcome. Thank you so much. I am running out of time, so I gotta jump off this. But you guys have been great, and thank you, Voice Acting Guild, having me on. It's funny that you're the Voice Acting Guild. That was the original name of a project that I tried to get going back in the early 2000s. It was going to literally be a guild for anime voice actors, and we're going to band together, and it was going to be, you know, it was going to be a union. And we were going to have a huge social media presence, and we were going to crush. And then people got angry. I destroyed it. That's so funny. People do. Oh, you guys are so welcome. Look at all these. Oh, we got little Hiei memes, and yeah, you guys are all welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I love doing these types of things. I'm always willing to chat about what people need to know. I love teaching. I love watching actors figure it out. Yeah, thanks for hosting. I'm gonna go check on the children because I know my wife has left the house because she has to pick up the one at dance. All right, you guys are awesome. I love you. Keep being amazing. Bye. I will. Bye.